There's a funny basket. Oh, Maple, what are you doing here?
I found her in the garden. She doesn't look very well, does she?
Oh, she doesn't. Are you all right, Maple? What happened?
I was chased by a dog.
Oh, are you hurt?
No, I think I just need a little rest.
Well, you can stay here until you're feeling better. You'll be quite safe.
Who are you talking to?
Maple.
Mabel? Mabel who?
Not Mabel, Cauldron. Maple. You know, Maple Mouse.
Eek! It's that mouse again. You know I'm afraid of mice.
Oh, Cauldron. Maple's been chased by a dog. She's got to stay here until she's feeling better.
Yes, and it's up to us to make her feel at home. So please stop squeaking all over the place. You'll upset her.
I'll try.
Good.
You see, Maple, he's a bit scared of you.
But that's silly. I'm only a little mouse.
Cauldron.
Sorry.
That's better.
I can't understand anybody being afraid of mice.
You'll be surprised how many people are. Cauldron, Mrs. Pitter-Patter.
And the Gruffle?
Who's the Gruffle?
Oh, him! He's a very bad-tempered monster who frightens everybody.
Yes, but he's still afraid of mice. We found that out when he left my garden and went into Puddle Lane. Would you like to go and see what happened?
Oh, yes, let's.
Would you like to come too, Maple?
Oh, yes, please.
Come along, then. There we are.
Come on, Maple, have a look at this.
The Gruffle was a gruff and grumpy monster. He was very grumpy and he was very gruff. And he could vanish whenever he wanted to. Everyone tried to be very quiet and careful when they saw the Gruffle. An owl lived in the attic of the old house. He often hooted as he flew out of the window. Twit-doo! But he always flew silently away if he saw the Gruffle. One day, very early in the morning, the Gruffle was in the garden of the old house. The owl saw the Gruffle, but he was careful not to hoot. The Gruffle went through the garden gate into the lane. Old Mr. Go-to-Bed woke up early in his house in Puddle Lane. He went downstairs and made a cup of tea, and took the tea back to bed. But the milk had gone sour. When old Mr. Go-to-Bed tasted his tea, it wasn't right at all. Old Mr. Go-to-Bed opened his window. The Gruffle was in the lane, just under Mr. Go-to-Bed's window. Only his ears were showing. The rest of him was invisible. Mr. Go-to-Bed tossed out the tea without looking. Swoosh! The tea fell on the Gruffle's head. The Gruffle gave a great roar of rage. "I'm dreaming," said Mr. Go-to-Bed. "I'm having a nightmare." He went off down the lane, feeling crosser than ever. Mr. Puffle was feeling very cheerful. Mr. Puffle picked up his watering can and opened his window to water the flowers in the window box outside. He began to sing. Just at that moment, the Gruffle went by Mr. Puffle's house. He heard Mr. Puffle singing, and he looked up with a roar of rage. Mr. Puffle was so surprised that he dropped the watering can. It fell on the Gruffle's head. The Gruffle roared again. Then he vanished. Mr. Puffle shut the window quickly and put his hand in front of his eyes. There's nothing there, he said to himself. He opened his fingers and looked through them. He looked out of the window. The Gruffle had vanished. Mr. Puffle gave a great sigh. Oh, just as I thought. There's nothing there. I imagined it. Mrs. Pitterpatter was having a cup of tea. The Gruffle looked in through the window and saw Mrs. Pitterpatter. Only his ears were showing. The rest of him was still invisible. He was feeling very grumpy indeed, and he didn't like the look of Mrs. Pitterpatter at all. The Gruffle gave a great roar. And all of him came into view. He stood there at the window, looking in. He roared loudly, and then he roared again. Mrs. Pitterpatter looked up and saw a big red monster looking in at the window. She dropped her spoon. The Gruffle was just going to roar again when he heard a little squeak behind him. He turned around and saw a little mouse sitting in the middle of the lane. The Gruffle's roar changed to a yell of fright. There was only one thing the Gruffle was afraid of, and that was a mouse.
It wasn't you who frightened the Gruffle, was it, Maple?
No, I think if I'd seen him in Puddle Lane, I'd have run away. I'm not very brave, you see.
Well, never mind. Let's see if all of that story has gone into the book.
Oh, yes, let's.
Pencils and paper, pens and ink, the words shall appear before you can blink. Well, here's the Gruffle, and he looks a very gruff and grumpy monster, doesn't he?
Ooh, yes. A gruff and grumpy monster.
He certainly gave everybody a fright when he went out into Puddle Lane.
Who was the first person to see him?
Mr. Go-to-Bed. He made himself a cup of tea, but the milk was sour, so he
threw it out of the window.
Yes, he did, and he didn't look where he was throwing it. So...
Splash! The tea fell on the Gruffle's head.
Tea fell on the Gruffle's head. No wonder he got angry. He roared outside Mr. Go-to-Bed's house.
And he roared outside Mr. Puffle's house.
And he roared outside Mrs. Pitterpatter's house.
And he didn't stop roaring until he saw a little mouse. A little... Oh, a word's been missed out here. I'd better write it in. Mouse. A little mouse. Then the Gruffle ran off, and the mouse ate all Mrs. Pitterpatter's breakfast. And that's the story of Gruffle in Puddle Lane.
It must have been a very brave mouse. I wish I was brave.
Oh, I expect you are brave, really.
No, I'm not. I'm frightened of lots of things. I'm frightened of cats. I'm frightened of dogs. Like the one that chased me.
It's awful when you're scared of things. I'm scared of mice, you know.
Yes, we do know, Cauldron.
Perhaps you could cast a spell to make them both brave.
Could you?
I don't think you need a spell to make you brave.
Oh, please. I'd love to be brave.
Oh, yes, come on, you've got to. Come on, let's do it.
Oh, very well. Well, the spell's to stop people from being frightened, isn't it? So we need something that begins with the same sound as frightened.
Ah, look, a feather.
Ah! Well done. A feather.
And it's a spell to make them brave, so why don't we use a colour beginning with B for brave? B.
A blue bracelet. Here you are, Cauldron.
Thank you. Oh, I can't wait to be brave. Don't forget how the magic tune goes, will you?
No, no.
Pom, 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 pom.
Pom, 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 pom. Right. All together then.
Pom, 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 pom.
Good. Now the magic rhyme.
Hey, just a minute.
What?
You haven't done the magic clap yet.
I know. The magic rhyme.
Oh, but just a minute, hold on. It won't work without the magic clap.
But I'm only pretending to do the spell.
You mean it won't really... You mean it won't really make them braver?
They'll think they're braver. It'll be as good. Just you wait and see.
What are you whispering about? Let's get on with the spell.
All right, Cauldron. Now, the magic rhyme. Puddle, muddle, muddle, puddle, bold as brass, strong as iron. Muddle, puddle, puddle, muddle, be as brave as any lion.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it. How do you feel?
Oh, I feel ever so brave now. I'm not afraid of dogs or cats or anything.
And, how about you, Cauldron?
Brave? Brave? I don't think there's a braver Cauldron in the whole world.
But aren't you afraid of mice or anything?
Afraid of mice? Don't be silly. Who could possibly be afraid of mice?
This calls for a song. Brave as a lion, brave as a bear, brave as a hero, I haven't a care. Brave as a bulldog, as anyone can see. Yes, brave as a lion. That's me. Brave
As a Cauldron.
brave,
As a mouse.
not afraid of anything, strong as a house, brave as a dragon, as anyone can see. Yes, brave as a lion.
That's me.
So you see, you don't need a spell to be brave after all.
That's astonishing.
All right, everybody, join in.